My name is Dusty, or as my students call me, Miss Sage, Coach, occasionally Mom, and depending on the day, like beep test day or 12-minute run day, other names that I won't mention. After all, we are in a church. I've been with the Grand Prairie Public School District for about 13 years. And to be completely honest, if you had asked me during my high school years what I wanted to be when I grew up, the last thing I would have said was, I want to be a teacher. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be a lawyer and eventually own my own firm, or, well, a politician. And I did have a joke, actually, for Mayor Given about, taking his job, but he left, so I guess I could probably pretend to be the mayor right now, and he wouldn't even know. It's great. It wasn't until a former principal in our area strolled up to me on a field while I was coaching a U13 girls soccer team, and why I don't know, because I have known nothing about soccer, but they asked, I said yes, that my life took a bit of a turn. He simply said, Dusty, you really have a gift working with kids. To which I replied, nah, these girls just really love soccer. And then he said, yeah, sure they do, but they love you just as much. Ever thought about becoming a teacher? And at that point, the seed was planted. Perhaps my true talent had nothing to do with being book smart or incredibly athletic. Obviously not cocky. Maybe, just maybe, it was in my ability to share my passions in learning and in sport, or simply in my love of helping others. I'm going to skip ahead to my early years of teaching. There was this inherent fear that was created when I first went through school to become a teacher. On many occasions, I was told not to show emotion for at least 3 months, do not crack a smile during that time, and heaven forbid, do not hug the children. I felt like I was becoming a lion tamer than somebody that teaches kids. And is it weird that when I first walked into my first classroom ever, I kind of feared that my fingers were actually going to be bitten off? What I failed to mention earlier is that I'm also an incredibly stubborn person, and I can only be the person that I am. So I wanted to be that charismatic teacher and coach, the one that could make a difference and change lives. And what I realized early on in my career is that when you give something of yourself, students will give back just as much in return. They will make your life a whole lot easier if they respect and like you as a person. I'll go so far as to say that the true backbone of our profession resides in our ability to create connections with our students. Not always a simple task, but I embrace the challenges and celebrate the tiniest of successes. And if I wasn't allergic to wine, I would definitely celebrate more. Some of you might be wondering, well, that's all well and good, Dusty, but how is this actually accomplished? Well, it's become clear to me that as the years go by, there's this little voice in my head that simply says, just be yourself. Kids seem to admire those that aren't afraid to be real. For example, when I'm having a bad day, I let my students know. And this actually brings me back to a very particular memory. Several years ago, my mom ended up in the hospital because she had somehow lost a lot of blood and was in need of a blood transfusion. My students could see that I was hurting, so they made my mom a get well card, passed it around the whole school, and by the end of the day, handed me this huge card with what seemed to be 100 signatures and little heartfelt notes saying, "Get well, Mama Sage." My students had lifted my spirits. They told me jokes. They gave me hugs. They asked me if there was anything more they could do. When I delivered the card to my mom, she cried because she couldn't understand why kids would take the time out of their day to put a smile on an old woman's face. And I can say that because she's not here today. I did run it by her though, so it's okay. And she can't send me to my room, so it's good. It was simple. Kids are not evil little creatures that do not have any desire to learn about our math lesson or partake in our epic game of dodgeball that we have created for them. They are kids. Kids that love with their hearts, think with their brains, and believe with all of their being. The idea of building positive relationships and rapport with children really isn't so scary when we know where they're coming from. Believe it or not, most kids thrive with some form of structure. But by structure, I don't mean prison walls. I mean a place where we help make them feel safe. Trust does that. Care does that. Connection does that. I can say that no matter the age, all kids like to be heard and given a little of our time. I've been privileged in my career to have had the opportunity to teach grades 1 through 12, all presenting very unique and diverse challenges. Sometimes kids are way more honest and straightforward than we'd like them to be. But the beautiful thing is, when we can find the balance between being an authority figure and still respected in friendship, walls come down. It actually reminds me of a time that I was walking along doing the Terry Fox run, and this little boy asked if he could walk with me. Of course I said yes. He looked up, obviously not that far as Deanna, and said, "Miss Sage, I notice you don't have a ring on your hand. That means you're not married." A little perplexed by his train of thought, I simply said, "Very good observation." He said, "Yep, but don't you worry though. You'll eventually find a boyfriend, and whether you marry him or not, give it 10 years, and you'll have a baby." Well, at least that's how I came along. All I could say was, "Wow, thanks for the advice." He was beaming because he simply got to walk and talk, and of course, share his life lesson. The best part about understanding the connections we make is paying attention to the little details that we as teachers are privy to on a daily basis. When we know our students, we can further understand the emotional roller coasters they go on. When we look closely enough, we get to see students potentially fall in love for the first time, form trust, feel disparity, gain confidence, work through adversity, show compassion, form leadership skills, and be outstanding citizens. However, when they get home, I've been told that on occasion, they'll use up those superhuman, superhero type abilities, and so caution, potential for eye rolling, arm crossing, door slamming, music playing overly too loud type behaviors definitely can occur. Which is why parents, you should come to parent-teacher interviews to get the could report. Well, at least from the phys ed teachers. I will also share that our relationships with our coworkers are also extremely important in making our days a little brighter. Humor, sharing our triumphs and tribulations, or just positive day-to-day interactions really does help. One of my favorite stories about a coworker came as she was lining up her grade 2 class so she could take them into the gym, so I could take them into the gym for phys ed. I asked her, "What did the kids learn today?" And she replied, "They were learning how to make words plural." Of course, showing my excitement and enthusiasm for such learning, I asked, "Well, can you give me an example?" She said, "Yeah, I definitely can. Today, the kids were learning about a farmer and his hose." Well, you can imagine what I was thinking because I also taught junior high. So I walked up a little bit closer to her and I said, "So, what kind of farm is he running?" And the laughter began to fill the hallway because when adults laugh, kids inevitably follow. When they asked why we were laughing, we simply responded with, "Because it's fun." And they believed us, so that's good. I'm going to end on one more relatively deep thought. Yes, I do have those on occasion, even as a phys ed teacher. In my 13 years of my career, I've never looked at a student's file. And yeah, my principals are here, so shh. No, just kidding. Unless to understand or to find ways to help. My belief, and what I tell many of my students, is that I don't know who you were yesterday, but you can be whoever you want to be today. And as far as I'm concerned, you're an amazing kid with unlimited potential. Simple. Start with love, and the possibilities are endless. Thank you very much.